With nearly every presidential poll showing that voters are looking for a political outsider, Hillary Clinton says that she fits the bill despite more than 2 decades in Washington.
Here is more of what she told Face the Nation moderator John Dickerson in her first Sunday show appearance in 4 years.
In the politics this year, it looks like everybody wants an outsider. Now that puts you in a fix.
I don't think, Don,
doesn't put you in a fix. Tell us why it doesn't put you in a fix.
I cannot imagine anyone being more of an outsider than the first woman president. I mean, really, let's think about that.
Now, I agree, but
I mean,
your
if you
name,
line up, if you know, all these mothers and fathers bring me the placemats with all the presidents, and they bring their daughters, and they say, my daughter has a question for you, and the daughter says, how come there are no girls on this placemat?
No,
so
I agree that is a difference.
I think that's a pretty big, unconventional choice.
But you know what I'm asking.
Well, I know you're asking, do we want people who've never been elected to anything, who have no political experience, who've never made any hard choices in the public arena? Well, voters are going to have to decide that.
But they worry that people who are inside are too inside, that's why the economic situation is tilted against the middle class. It's why they always feel like everybody can wiggle around the rules. And that's something you have to deal with, right?
Of course it is.
John Dickerson joins us now on set. John, great interview. The bottom line, are voters going to buy that from Hillary Clinton?
I don't think so. I don't think so. And she knows that they're not going to buy that. And that's one of the challenges for her campaign, which is that's a spin, right? It would be historic if she were the first woman president, and that would be a big difference. And I think a lot of women voters recognize that, and anybody who knows the difference between men and women would recognize that is different, and that's historic. But that's not the whole ball of wax, and that's not what's driving this election, which is that people want to know that whoever is going to be in the office is going to have an outsider temperament. And Bernie Sanders is an insider. I mean, he's a member of Congress and has been for a long time, but he has that outsider's temperament. And also, outsider doesn't necessarily mean outside of Washington. It means outside of the system of convenience that is a nexus between Washington and Wall Street, and basically all of the people who are on the inside of systems that help them, and all the people who are on the outside of those systems. And that's kind of what's at the heart of this election.
Yeah, in regards to Bernie Sanders, she said that she was going to stay positive during the campaign with him. And she also said that she didn't really have a plan or strategy should Vice President Joe Biden jump in, who would be another formidable opponent. Can she really afford to maintain those positions right now?
Well, the Bernie Sanders thing was interesting because she's not said that before, and also a super PAC supporting her is actually basically attacking Bernie Sanders. So are they going to stop? Unlikely that they're going to stop. But even so, if she remains positive, that's new. The Joe Biden thing is interesting because some of her fundraisers who are on the phone trying to raise money for her are preparing for what it would be like if Joe Biden, because what's happening sometimes when they get on the phone is somebody says, well, I'm thinking about maybe donating to Joe Biden. So that's not rampant, but it is happening. So I think also, though, for her, the challenge of her campaign actually doesn't have anything to do with the other candidates. It has to do with her. And this interview was a part of a strategy they've been putting in place, which is to make her more accessible, have her answer more questions, and show a different side, pardon me, of herself. And so she's doing that because she's got to do that for her own campaign. It's not really anything she can play off the other candidates.
You mentioned the CNN poll that came out yesterday. That same poll shows Carly Fiorina soaring to second place. Also, Marco Rubio making some pretty significant gains. What do you make of those numbers?
Well, it basically shows us what happened in 2012. As there was a debate, people did well in the debate, their numbers moved up. Now, there are fewer debates in this round because the RNC wanted to have fewer debates, but that means less volatility. Well, actually, I mean, there's volatility after the debates happen because these polls shift around, but it means that we'll have to wait for another shift for several weeks until there's the next debate. The question for Rubio and Fiorina is, can they seize on that? Who controls the period between the two debates? But what it also means is that if you're not in a debate and your numbers are tanking, it's hard to get in the mix.
Yeah. What about Scott Walker? Because it is remarkable to see what has happened. He's now polling at less than 1%. Is his campaign in crisis mode now? Yeah,
I think in crisis mode would be a good definition for that for two reasons. One, he hasn't had good debate performances. That's why he's gone down. Two, his ability to control the conversation. And it's quite hard to control the conversation when Donald Trump is one of the candidates and you're competing against 15 others. But be that as it may, his ability to make news in the middle of these debate pauses. He's not been able to do that. And what happens is, even though this is a national poll and the primary isn't fought nationally, he's going to people and asking them for money. And if they say, look, you're polling at the bottom of the pack here, how are you going to fix it? It's harder to make the case. How are you going to fix it? Because this is a hard race, and he's got a lot of tough competitors.
John, I want to ask you about some news regarding a piece that you wrote back in March about Congressman Paul Ryan. Tell us about that. There's been some development.
Yeah. So Paul Ryan, since he ran as a vice presidential candidate, has been spending a lot of time looking at poverty and trying to find out if there's a way to use conservative solutions to deal with the fact that we have 45 million people in poverty. And he spent this time quietly going all across the country, meeting in different neighborhoods with people who are addicted, who are homeless. And so this has been a sort of journey he has been on. So I wrote a piece saying, Republicans have been talking about poverty, but if they really want to show they're as interested in poverty as they say, they would all kind of, we've seen them go to these forums. They were in Iowa going to a forum of agriculture at corn growers. And so if they're going to spend a lot of time with corn growers, maybe they should have a forum where they talk about poverty. And Paul Ryan, since he's interested in it, should host one of these. Well, he's now doing it on January 9th with Senator Tim Scott in South Carolina. They're going to have the presidential candidates come in, and they're going to talk about the 45 million people who are in poverty and what conservatives can do to help the poor. And we'll see if they have any answers.
Have you really been done that way?
Are you going?
I should hope so. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So, and he read the article, so it wasn't just isn't just a coincidence. So yeah, I'll go, and it should be, or one hopes it'll be illuminating and interesting. Those are tough problems. So.
All right.
John Dickerson, thank you very much.